Hey, what's up, guys? I just thought I would make this video because I ran into a documentary a few months ago that just was, really irritated me because of how much misinformation they were pushing. And it's a very popular documentary. Like, I believe it has 4 million views at this point. So it's, pretty much blown up along with this person's other documentaries. I think pretty much everyone they release is very popular on YouTube. But yeah, overall, there was a lot of good info in there. Like, he did expose or talk about a lot of the problems and tons of, the scams in the crypto industry. And I thought I would make this video coming from, a Bitcoin maximalist viewpoint, because you don't really see this type of stuff on YouTube much. I mean, Bitcoin maximalism is not very widespread on YouTube, which is, a shame, because this is the entire reason why it gets lumped into all of this other garbage. Like, no one has any clue what they're talking about when it comes to Bitcoin. And this really shows it, considering how popular it is. And, pretty much everyone in the comments seems to be like in agreement with the video. I kind of want to go through the points he was talking to with regards to Bitcoin. Like, the rest of the video, he pretty much got everything spot on. He targeted, NFTs, Ethereum, everything else in crypto. He did a great job explaining, what the issues are, like why it's pretty much a scam. But his, when he started talking about Bitcoin, man, dude, like the entire time, just terrible coverage about Bitcoin. So yeah, let's get into it.
Bitcoin was doomed from the start. That's what a lot of crypto skeptics will tell you, and I understand why. Relying on computer code and the ideals of tech anarchists probably isn't the best place to entrust a reimagining of the financial system.
So yeah, right off the bat here, yeah, I love how he's already talking about Bitcoin in the past tense, as if it's, as if it's over, guys. Every time he refers to Bitcoin, it's in past tense, as if, like it doesn't exist today anymore. It's not like it's literally, as of today, it is the 12th most valuable asset on Earth. But I'm going to talk about it in the past tense as if it doesn't exist anymore. Right off the beginning, it's already just really bad here.
Bitcoin had a fixed supply of 21 million coins, which makes it deflationary by nature. So if one Bitcoin is worth more tomorrow than it is today, why would you want to use it to transact with?
Okay, we're getting right into, why would I use a currency that is going up in value? That doesn't make sense. Why would I exchange with that? A money does not have to go down in value in order for it to be a good medium of exchange. This is just, by this logic, is money that goes down in value faster than other money, does that make it a better medium of exchange? No, it's silly. Yeah, the entire purpose of money is to move value between space and time. And when I say that, space being, physical space. You can move the money. That's like exchanging money for goods and services. That's what he's referring to, buying things with Bitcoin. But then the other part of money, there's two sides to money. The other part is moving it through time, which money that holds its value and doesn't deteriorate over long periods of time. You're able to save in it and spend it. Good money should do both. You should be able to save in money and spend money. And what he's referring to is only the space part. He's only talking about moving it between space. And what he's also thinking is that money has to go down in value in order for it to be a good medium of exchange, which is just utter nonsense. People want money that they can save in and spend. Let's keep going.
Pretty bad incentive to have if you're trying to make a global currency. But that is already assuming that Bitcoin had the technical capabilities to become this worldwide currency, which it didn't. I mean, Bitcoin had scaling issues thanks to design decisions that Nakamoto themselves had made. It could only process 7 transactions per second. I mean, compared to other traditional payment networks like Visa, which can process 1,700 transactions per second, or MasterCard, which handles 5,000 transactions per second.
Okay, guys, this is bad. This is bad. These are the types of arguments that were used against Bitcoin, 5+ years ago. You can't compare Bitcoin to things like Visa and MasterCard because they're entirely different things. One is a payment network built on top of the fiat system, and that is, Visa and MasterCard. These are payment networks that are designed to move the monetary value, which is the dollar, the euro, etc. Bitcoin is a new monetary value, just like the dollar or the euro. So you should be comparing Bitcoin to the dollar, the euro, other fiat currencies, while the payment systems built on top of those currencies are things like Visa and MasterCard. Where Bitcoin has its own payment system, which is called the Lightning Network, that's built on top of Bitcoin. The Lightning Network is what you can compare to Visa and MasterCard. You don't compare Bitcoin, which is the monetary unit, to Visa and MasterCard. Those are two different things. You should be comparing Lightning to Visa and MasterCard. Bitcoin does not scale at 7 transactions per second. That's only the base layer, which is where all the transactions eventually settle on. And over time, things like BIP 119 and other stuff like that, I believe, will help scale the base layer. But for payments, everyday payments, you're going to be using Lightning, which, as of today, can process thousands of transactions per second. It's perfectly fine.
And keeping the Bitcoin network running wasted a lot of energy. Bitcoin aimed to be decentralized, meaning no government or single entity had control over it. But in order to do that, Nakamoto employed what is called a proof-of-work consensus model. All this meant was that computers on the Bitcoin network would be forced to use real-world energy in order to solve algorithmic problems. And whichever computer solved the problem first would be rewarded with more Bitcoins.
Oh boy. This one might be just as bad as his last argument. First off, Bitcoin does not waste energy. What energy is being wasted? What are you talking about? There's no such thing as wasting energy. It's people using energy for what they think is good. Every single Bitcoin in existence today, every single coin since inception, used real-world materials, real-world energy, real-world computing power to produce. That's the only way to get Bitcoin. You can't print it out of thin air like most other cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies. Those, people are just printing them out of thin air in order to enrich insiders and stuff like that. The only way to produce a currency that has no insiders and is fair and neutral is by including energy in that mix. So you have to produce Bitcoin using real world materials. So I don't know where he's getting this waste from. This is just how the monetary units are brought into existence. You have to expend real world materials. This is what links Bitcoin to the physical world. It's why proof of work is so fascinating. It is not just something that's entirely digital. There is a real world component to it, which really grounds it into the reality of physics. You can't cheat physics, which is why you can't cheat Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, for the most part, failed in its objective of trying to become a global currency. Outside of illegal use purposes, Bitcoin just wasn't being used to transact with. You realize that most of the people buying Bitcoin, they're not buying it to use as a...
So when he said, it's not being used as a currency, that's, slightly true. It's not being used vastly as a currency that much. Just in minor areas. Adoption as, everyday currency is low. I will admit that. But it's mostly just because its adoption as a money is low. And when I say that, in order for something to be a currency, it has to be universally owned. Like, people aren't going to transact with Bitcoin if they don't own it. So in order for Bitcoin to become a popular medium of exchange, it needs to have vast ownership across the world. It has to be owned by a majority of people before you will begin to start seeing movements towards, medium of exchange, which is why the transition between store of value, medium of exchange, and unit of account is so important. You have to first start as store of value, people storing it just as a savings vehicle, basically. And then after that phase is where you'll start seeing more adoption as a medium of exchange. Once you see, millions, billions of people owning it across the world, that it'll become more popular as, transacting everyday things with, because just so many people will own it at that point. And then finally, the last phase, which is, probably the most difficult phase is unit of account, which is where everything will be priced in Bitcoin at that point, where, you know, you'll be going to stores and you'll be seeing everything priced in Satoshi's sats. Yeah, that's kind of the final phase, which is, you know, it's a very slow process. It took gold hundreds of years, if not more than 1,000 years, to be globally recognized as, you know, like the best money in the world. So I'm hoping Bitcoin can be a lot quicker than, you know, gold was in the past. And I think, you know, the information age will probably escalate the adoption curve because we're so connected and global. I do think it'll be a much more rapid adoption than gold was. But a rapid adoption of a new money could still take decades, if not, you know, possibly more than a century to see its final form. So yeah, who knows? There's a chance that I'm not even alive to see Bitcoin in its fully adopted state. And that's just how money is. It takes a long time for these things to occur. It's not like other technologies like the smartphone that, you know, it spreads like wildfire instantly. Money is something that can take a long time.
Currency, they're buying it as an investment. And therein lies the contradiction. Because the more people who...
It's not an investment, it's savings.
Used Bitcoin like an investment, the less liable Bitcoin became as a currency, the very thing it's being pitched as being revolutionary as. Anyone who buys into the idea of Bitcoin is doing so to sell it for a higher price at a future date, and
that's the entire point of having a good form of money. You're able to save in it for a future date and have it hold its value. So the point of him, you know, saying selling it, first off, we're not selling it for anything. We are selling fiat currencies for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is our money. Bitcoiners, we already recognize Bitcoin as our money. We are selling everything else for Bitcoin. And whenever we sell Bitcoin for items, we're buying things with Bitcoin. His terminology here is just totally off. He doesn't recognize that people across the world see Bitcoin as their money. He's acting like it's just any other asset, any other like Ponzi scheme thing. He's pretending like it's, you know, some pump and dump. Who is pumping and dumping this thing, dude? There's no insiders. There's no one that made Bitcoin out of thin air. Every single Bitcoin is backed by and mined with real world materials.
people that buy it off those people are also looking to sell it for a higher price at a future date. The only way to make money from your Bitcoin investment is using the money of new investors. Unlike Bernie Madoff, right, who gets all the blame and the satisfying jail time at the end of his story, here you have an entity that isn't owned by anyone. What some would argue isn't a decentralized currency. It's a decentralized Ponzi scheme.
Did he really just compare Bitcoin to Bernie Madoff? This video has 4 million views on YouTube and people love it. People are loving this video. This is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. This is one of the worst content on Bitcoin I've ever seen. And he is so confident. He's so confident in his views on Bitcoin. And even at the very beginning, he's talking about, he got into crypto or started looking into it in 2021. This is the definition of these people that, just discovered it and are acting like they know everything. This dude, he knows nothing about Bitcoin and he's talking so confidently about it. And at the very end there, he just said Bitcoin was a decentralized Ponzi scheme. Those two things are in direct contradiction with one another. There's no such thing as a decentralized Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme has to have someone at the center that is running the scheme. There has to be someone benefiting off of the backs of others. In Bitcoin, there's no such thing. Every single Bitcoin in existence used real-world materials to mine. There's no one printing Bitcoin out of thin air in order to enrich themselves and, trying to pump it up in order to dump on everyone else. That doesn't exist. People are exiting the current systems for a money that is not attached to any government, individual, or corporation. Bitcoin is universal money that is not controlled by anyone or anything. And to even compare it to a Ponzi scheme is straight up regarded, as we would say it on Twitter. Anyway, that's pretty much all of his views on Bitcoin in the video. That was, the Bitcoin section. The rest of the video was fine. I mean, he covered crypto very well in the rest of the video for the utter scam and ridiculousness that it is. Crypto is an utter shit show that has no value. But his coverage on Bitcoin was terrible, and I thought that sharing a Bitcoin maximalist view on this on YouTube, it would be a good idea, just because I'm not seeing it anywhere else. Who is reporting this other than these mainstream guys that have no idea what they're talking about? So yeah, please like, share, comment. Let me know how you thought about it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.